We've been teased last week on 3 mysterious and poetic scrolls split across the ancient Greek world, and today we finally get our answers. Hello everybody, this is Havoc, and welcome to the Mythos DLC for a Total War Saga Troy. Now before you roll your eyes in immense disgust, I implore you to watch the entire video, as there is something for, quite literally, every type of Total War player with this announcement. So in this short video, we'll get into the trailer, the FAQ, and the website pages to discover how Troy is fully embracing the mythology aspect of the time with the Mythos DLC, while also not neglecting the historical side either, of which this aspect of the game is 100% free, mind you. Word of warning though, 95 to 98% of this will focus on the DLC side of things. Be sure to check out the timestamps for your favorite part. And if at any point you are really enjoying the channel, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notifications. So, let's dive into what we know about the Mythos DLC in Total War Saga Troy. The Mythos DLC is an entirely new campaign game mode that is 100% embracing the mythology side of the culture, most notably by adding in 3 mythical monsters, the Lernaean Hydra, the Griffin Patriarch, and the epic 3-headed doggo Cerberus. There is so much more to these mythical monsters than just adding in 3 units you can fight with, but we'll get to that later in the video. As for the rest of the plunge into Mythos, units and other game concepts have been reimagined as their full mythical counterparts, centaurs, harpies, minotaurs. They are all now fully Mythos instead of the truth behind the myth interpretation. The gods are now much more prevalent on the campaign map as you see them on the horizon or looking down at you during battles. Their divine will is now directly in your hands, as certain gods have powers that you can use while fighting, like Zeus's thunderbolts or the epic tides of Poseidon. To fully embrace you even more into this idea of the mythology side, this game mode changes the landscape of everything around you. The campaign map features monuments to the gods, and your battle maps have been remade with the remnants of titans or long dead creatures and buildings dedicated to the gods themselves. The team seems to have really put a ton of work into this DLC to overhaul everything to give you that whole Age of Mythology package. It looks great from the screenshots that we see on the Steam page, the blog, and the FAQ. So how exactly are you able to nab one of these beastie boys? Well, it isn't exactly a matter of just conquering a region to gain access to them like other Mythos units. These guys need to be captured and subdued in order for you to use them, and that requires a mythic expedition. For this expedition, you will need to dispatch a hero and his army, no doubt giving you the odds of success before shooting off into the dark on their adventure. Along the way, you'll encounter 5 different dilemmas that will determine whether or not you get to that final boss battle, in which said hero and army will duke it out with the monster and their units for control over the region and control over that monster. An important note is that while your hero and army are on their expedition, they are 100% gone. You cannot even interact with them until you hit those dilemmas. An expedition isn't wise until you have at least another army, or if you're in a period of peace. You can also only go on one of these and conquer only one monster, so choose carefully and know that your antagonist, the game's way of creating a personalized anti-player, is also pursuing their own expedition to grab their own monster. Now, once you've subdued your creature, there's a bit of depth on how you use them. Each monster can be deployed as an agent or embedded in an army, and has their own unique set of resources, massively expensive buildings which allow recruitable units, and abilities both on the campaign map and on the battlefield. The Griffin focuses on a harmony bar, a balance between buffing up your Griffins or giving their one-eyed gold-seeking followers, the Eremispoi, I'm sure I butchered that name, the ability to boost your gold generation. On the battlefield, the Griffins themselves will provide you with fast-flying units that can quickly flank and overpower the enemy, and their Eremispoi unit counterparts are very hardy troops used to harsh terrains in which they search for gold on their adventures with the Griffins. The Cerberus uses a souls resource generation system by which the more dead souls you send to the underworld, the stronger the Cerberus becomes and can provide several means to strengthen your economy, such as providing shade labor, boosting your resource production in a province while locking happiness at 0. Battlefield Cerberus revels in death, growing stronger as the battle continues and can summon fire from the river Phlegethon while also summoning shades. Shade units themselves are quite powerful, never yielding, and with a wide range of unit types, including elite archers and even giants. The Hydra itself extends only to spread its ruinous legacy, but is extremely weak. Its vitality mechanic will see you regenerating the Hydra's health by feeding the monster, and enemies are not the only food on the menu, as you have the option to suffer the attrition of your own army to revitalize it, or feed it conquered enemies post-battles. During battle, the Hydra prefers ranged combat, spewing venom that drains the health of other units as the battle wears on, and even when in melee, units will suffer poison attacks as its blood covers weapons and armor. The unique units are all controlled through the slow process of poison, and have a range of benefits from poison-tipped weapons to regenerative health. If that wasn't enough, each monster is supposedly very hard to kill, but hard does not mean impossible, so I'm very curious as to what will take to bring these beasts down. Will I need multiple armies on the battlefield? Will each have weaknesses that can be exploited to knock them down quickly? I guess we'll have to see. Either way, they all seem extremely beneficial, and choosing one over the other will be difficult during your campaigns, at least it will be for me. So as you can see, there's loads of content centered around the paid DLC side of Mythos, but like all DLC with Creative Assembly, there's some free DLC coming with the game too. Alongside a 100% Mythos game mode, Troy will be getting a 100% historical mode as well, which, as mentioned, is 100% free. There's not a lot of information around the historical mode. They will release more before the release of the DLC. But the historical game mode looks to remove all the features and creatures from the Mythos side, including single entity units like heroes and minotaurs, even removing the truth behind the myth aspects of the game like unit interpretation for harpies, centaurs, etc, etc. What that means is up in the air, but we can assume a format similar to Three Kingdoms, where generals have a bodyguard around them and there's no crazy godlike abilities, a return to completely normal units of the era, and maybe even a more relevant approach to how the gods work. This mode is a completely unexpected surprise, but a welcome one. I'm a bit concerned on the execution of this mode, simply because Creative Assembly has a record of not balancing multiple modes like this, and the Three Kingdoms Records mode, which is the historical side, always seemed tacked on and lacking in features that never really made it worth playing. But if the Sophia team busts out of the gate with a very solid historical mode, then we will have some semblance of our Bronze Age Total War, with 3 campaign modes across Troy for every type of player in the community to pick and choose from. One of the big features coming to all modes is administrative burden. If there's one thing CA has definitely not been able to effectively tackle, it's the mid to end game steamroll, where the player becomes just too powerful, can take on anything, often making the campaign boring and causing stagnation. Supply lines were the solution, where each army you created vastly increases the cost of upkeep. It's a flawed system that very few in the community enjoyed. In this update, supply lines have been removed entirely and are now replaced with a new mechanic called administrative burden. In this pooled resource mechanic, each hero, settlement, and unit has a defined amount of admin burden. Each unit and settlement increases an admin burden depending on their tier. The more admin burden you have, the more negative effects are unlocked, yet in return, royal decrees and influence will be gained faster. Recruitment costs and upkeep also increase, but not in the way supply lines did in the past. Instead, there is a resource escalation. Food will increase first, then eventually bronze as you progress, eventually into gold. The idea was not to punish the player for expanding their armies in the early game, while also presenting the perspective of an expanding empire, so they start with the most common resource and step up from there. I am very eager to test this out and see how balanced it really becomes. It's an interesting perspective on the steamroll mechanic, but I'll have to see it in action before I'm able to actually really comment on its effectiveness. Probably the best news surrounding Troy is that the base game and any content that's out so far is finally coming to Steam after being an Epic exclusive, releasing on September 2nd for $40 and the Mythos DLC for $20. They've got some solid bundles and discounts going on until the end of September. There are 3 discounts or bundles that will be available. Standard Edition is the base game, only for 20% off. Mythic Edition is the base game and Mythos DLC for 30% off the full price. And the Heroic Edition is everything. Base game, Mythos DLC, Amazons, Ajax, and Diomedes, all for 40% off. Again, all these bundles will be available on Steam until the end of September, so you'll get to see any and all coverage you need, including reviews, before you decide you want to pull the trigger on any of them. In all, there's loads more content surrounding the Mythos DLC and Troy in general with the upcoming Steam release than I ever anticipated. As excited as I am a bit weary on execution, so this initial hype is still very conditional for me. With so much content to cover and over a month before release, you can rest assured that there is a lot more information coming out soon. Thanks for checking out the announcement video for the Mythos DLC and Total War Saga Troy. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on bell notifications. Leave a comment below on your thoughts with the announcement, what you're excited for, what you aren't excited for, and anything and everything in between. Be on the lookout in the future for some streams on the new DLC on my Twitch channel and here on YouTube for the VODs and the edited content. Thanks again for watching. This is Havoc, and I will see you all in the next video.